have to be very brave or very stupid to come to this organization which judges speakers and to present before you. I want to say to you, Madam President, and they tell me you are soon to be the immediate past president, I want to say to Miss Ebony Frey, who is the Toastmaster of the evening, I want to say to you, the Toastmasters who are here, your guests, and also to the awardees. I want to say good evening, and I want to say thank you for your invitation. I know that the Toastmasters Club sets a high bar in assessing oral communications, and the world of words and their delivery is not an easy task. So I commend you in committing to further honing your skills in that area. My hope is that our sharing of ideas and fellowship will yield ripple effects of success in shaping each other's legacy. Your distinguished organization has built a local legacy of inspiring creative leaders to change the world. It has encouraged its members to be timely and effective in completing projects, taking risks, and being of value to self and others through public speaking and leadership initiatives. And this is a most commendable legacy. There are moments in our lives that can be both game-changing and life-changing, and these are known as defining moments. Perhaps for some of you, it was becoming a wife, a husband, a parent, losing your job, getting a promotion, an accident, or serious illness. There are also defining moments as a community that force us to sit back and think about life. Moments in the life of a community where we come together because our feelings and emotions are affected. And it's called a time for collective assent. In Poland, powerful words were said when Polish leader Lech Kaczynski and other government and national leaders died in a plane crash on April 2010. And the Speaker of the Parliament at that funeral said, and I quote, "There are certain moments in the life of a nation when we know we are together, that our feelings and our emotions are one." The catastrophe of that airplane was one of them. More recently, closer to home, news of the death of the Honourable Member, Mr. Sean Crockwell, had a real impact all across Bermuda. Here was a life filled with promise. There were elements of success, powerful periods of struggle, distinguished public service, yet it ended on a mysterious note of sadness. And it didn't matter whether he was a former UBP, BDA, OBA, or independent, or what our own political leanings were. We were in a state of mourning because we felt it shouldn't have happened, and we were sad that we had lost an able, committed Bermudian. His death reminded us of our own mortality. Our dash could soon be done. What mark do we wish to leave on our community? And what will be our legacy? In my own journey from high school to university, from serving as an MP and as your premier, I've had my share of life-changing moments. And from these collective experiences, I know that nothing is impossible with faith. And my answer to the question as to how to live a life that leaves a footprint legacy is summed up in 3 words: impact, influence, and inclusion. Impact. I firmly believe that we can make a difference. And Robert Kennedy, in speaking, warned against 3 dangers. 1, the danger of futility, believing that there is nothing one man or woman can do against the enormous array of the world's ills. 2, the danger of practicality, the compromise between principle and necessity. And 3, the danger of timidity, Each person must have the courage to do what is right and just. And sometimes you have to step out of the comfort zone and of your comfort zone. I've had to do that as a policymaker, and I learned quickly that policymaking is really not about me. It's about whether it makes the system better, the country healthier, and empowers the people. Stepping out of my comfort zone to make an impact was the impetus for 2 pieces of legislation that I initiated: the Good Governance I and Good Governance II Act, and the establishment of the Office of Procurement. It was the same when I introduced the term limit policy and the job makers legislation. The latter piece of legislation was to recognize the contribution of Bermudians, but it was also to recognize the contribution of non-Bermudians where they hired Bermudians and spurred economic activity and growth in the economy. Incentives were given when there was a demonstrable long-term corporate commitment to retain a presence in Bermuda and to hire Bermudians. Still, on the immigration front, the term limits policy provided assurances to Bermudians that their needs were not being ignored in the job market. And the term limits policy was to prevent Bermudians being sidelined by a continuous rollover of work permits to non-Bermudians when there were qualified Bermudians willing and able to fill positions. Commercial common sense prevailed, as there were carve-outs for companies who had senior and/or key employees with unique and indispensable skill sets without whom the company could not operate. And where the company made a credible case, these employees must remain in Bermuda and be exempt from term limits. The protection of Bermudians and Bermuda were core to the rationale for these legislative initiatives. Now, despite their benefits, there was also a fair amount of controversy, public debate, and even some pushback. However, if you believe that what you're doing is the right thing to do, you press on, and you don't cave in, and you don't give up. Some days ago, I've taken a decision in my personal life that goes to my core values. It will not make me popular in some quarters, but it is the right thing to do. And I've chosen my stand, both to do the right thing and to do things right. And I've done this in the spirit of making an impact on the lives of Bermudians in Constituency 14, and ultimately for continuing to contribute to progressive development of Bermuda. While impact is vital, it's not enough to complete your footprint legacy. Influence is critical. Kennedy has said, each time a man, and also really a woman, each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. I've learned you can't influence anyone without cultivating more mutual trust. While Premier, I had the opportunity to attend a global meeting of the International Women's Forum in October 2010. This IWF organization is one that cultivates and encourages female leadership. Its members include women who are top of their game as opinion leaders and movers and shakers, premier women globally. It has a formidable global network and provides for the mentorship of women as well as networking on a grand scale. This organization is one that I felt belonged in Bermuda. I set out to do the work and reached across partisan lines and invited women from many disciplines to attend an inaugural outreach meeting to canvass interests. There was a rousing response, and a year later, we were inducted as a member of the IWF. And in January 2012, we hosted in Bermuda the IWF Global Board meeting. I was the founding member of our Bermuda chapter and served for 2 years in that role. IWF Bermuda continues to grow from strength to strength. And I've subsequently been elected to serve on the Global Board and was elected as chair of the President's Council, which is all the international presidents of the IWF. I've also used my influence when I was invited to serve as the chair of the inaugural board of the Africa Diaspora Consortium. Now, the mission of the African Diaspora Consortium is to enhance relationships among and convene thought leaders, practitioners, and philanthropists from around the globe for the purpose of impacting positively the educational, economic, and artistic outcomes and opportunities of Black populations across the African diaspora. And this organization is grounded in the philosophy that shared lessons across the diaspora can lead to new paradigms and new directions for addressing the chronic challenges confronting Black populations around the globe. So ADC seeks to accomplish 4 main goals. One is to identify and highlight historic and cultural connections, as well as common challenges and opportunities across the diaspora. It's also to increase educational success and outcomes for Black populations at all levels globally. It's to utilize the arts, music, performing arts, and visual arts as a vehicle to establish artistic linkages globally and provide opportunities for emerging artists, not only to develop artistically, but to learn the business aspects of the music, performing arts, and visual arts industries. And finally, it is to employ education as a tool to enhance economic and health conditions for people across the diaspora. Now, as chair, I use my influence at the ADC pilot student exchange program with students from the US, UK, Caribbean, and Latin America. I wanted Bermuda to be part of this, and I proposed that Bermuda be included in this pilot program, as we were a British overseas territory and culturally linked to the Caribbean. This was agreed, and we're preparing for the first pilot program, which will be held in Bermuda, to take place next year. Many Bermudians will be involved in the lecture lineup to speak and share with these foreign students information about Bermuda from a historical, cultural, and arts perspective. Top-notch, internationally accredited universities have endorsed and supported this initiative, and there have been discussions held with the US State Department as the program evolves. This program will showcase Bermuda very positively, as well as some of her thought leaders, and it should be both inspiring and uplifting. From a policy perspective, because we're still talking about influence, I've introduced the prescription job financing benefit, the primary family homestead, which eliminated death duty on the primary home, and initiated the economic empowerment zone. So the use of influence in enacting policy initiatives can have a tremendous impact on the lives of Bermudians. And all of us have a measure of influence and can use it to shape and change lives. And it's not unique to policymakers. As we move to the third and final I, it's inclusion. As much as impact and influence are important pieces of a pie or footprint legacy, so too is inclusion. I heard a wise lady speak recently at the IW conference, and she stated that partnership is the new leadership. Everyone you ran into after that, you heard them reciting partnership is the new leadership. It seems so simple, but it was something that was so catchy, and it caught on to the imagination of everyone. She's right. Her comments resonated throughout the conference, and as I said, were oft repeated. We have to work together. We have to end the silo mentality, and we have to recognize that together there is power if we focus on the common goal. George H.W. Bush, and I never really thought I'd quote a Republican, but on accepting the Republican Party nomination in 1988, he called for a reliance on community and non-governmental action. And he said, and I quote, "A brilliant diversity spread like the stars, like 1,000 points of light in a broad and peaceful sky." I didn't know he was so poetic. I thought it was beautiful. But great speeches heal division. Nelson Mandela understood this when he said in his inaugural address in 1994 that we must therefore act together as a united people for national reconciliation, for nation building, and for the birth of a new world. It's what we together do. No one is expendable, and no one should be left out. And every Bermudian has a right to be given the opportunity and the resources to make a difference in the world. And my personal motto, though it changes sometimes, is each one reach one by active inclusion. I talked about the Honorable Sean Proctor. Well, we are still here, and we have a choice to make. And it's a choice about the footprint of our legacy, using impact, influence, and inclusion in ways that can create value, make a difference, and change our private and public world. The I's have it. Impact, influence, and inclusion. They're a formidable combination, and we must each resolve to use the tools that we have. And that is how we become the shapers and leaders of our own stories, and live a life of substance that can benefit our communities and leave a positive, powerful, and penetrating footprint legacy for the next generation, and the next generation, and the next generation, some of whom are here present tonight. So that's what I'd like to leave you with. You, as an organization, are doing some marvelous things. Continue to do so, and as you do so, each one of you remember that you are powerful in your own right. Use your impact, use your influence, and be inclusive as we seek to make Bermuda more than just what we sing about another world. Let's make it a better world. Thank you very much.